Welcome to News 24's Bafana Bathathe. I'm Tashreeq Vardien, and it's the day after an emotional rollercoaster of match day 2 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Unfortunately, as we know, the fairy tale start South Africans had hoped for didn't materialize with a 2-0 defeat to co-host Mexico at the iconic Estadio Azteca. But in Atlanta, a city that we feel strangely familiar with to a certain corner of South African football supporters. Wink, wink, Amakosi. Bafana showed a different side of themselves. After a difficult opening spell, they rediscovered some rhythm and spirit in the second half fight back to earn a well-deserved 1-1 draw against Czechia. To unpack what went wrong and what clicked, at least partially. In Atlanta, we now head to the land of mumble rap, good food and unpredictable weather. Joining us from the ground is News 24 sports senior football reporter Njabulo Ngidi, who is covering Bafana's World Cup campaign in North America. Njabs, how are we feeling today?
Better than yesterday. Much, much, much better. I mean, it helps that we're in control of our destiny. I think that's the least we could ask for in terms of going to the last round. I did not want to be going back to Mexico knowing that the dream is over. So this makes the flight a bit more enjoyable knowing that there's something to play for.
Yeah, it's something about last night's match. If I could just touch on immediately, I was quite particularly surprised that there was not only a host of South African fans, but it didn't seem like there was too much of empty seats in the arena last night. There was quite a packed stadium.
Yeah, it was, the turnout was crazy. There's quite a lot of work that SAFA have put in terms of getting the South African diaspora to come for this game against Czechia, and that's why the turnout was like that. There was even like a group walk that was organized in some parts of Atlanta where South Africans can sort of congregate and then walk together to the stadium. And that was nice to see, like this just army of like green and gold coming into the stadium. And I mean, it genuinely, like I said, I wrote in my first take that it felt like Bafana were playing at home. The vibe, and I mean, when I saw that they really had bought into Bafana was when they were booing an American referee because some of the 50-50 decisions were going Czechia's way. And when I was taking pictures around the stadium, I mean, I saw there was a Danish couple that had bought tickets when it was still the playoffs because Denmark were one of the teams that we could have faced. And when Czechia sort of pipped them for this place, they still decided to come and they were supporting Bafana. It was the same with Irish fans, like the Irish fans who also bought tickets around the time of the playoffs and they couldn't, their team couldn't make it, but they still came and they were supporting Bafana Bafana. So the vibe, they just made the team to feel at home. And I think if it wasn't for the support, I don't think Bafana would have gotten over the line because for the most part of the game, they were not convincing. I mean, they really played properly in terms of the last 15 minutes and it's the crowd. And they, even in the moments when the game was low and the boys were a bit deflated, they kept at it, they sang and they pushed them through. And the fans really played a key role in terms of getting Bafana to get this big point.
And that what was the most interesting part of it all, you know, is that, or maybe not interesting, but a familiar part to, you know, Bafana Bafana and whichever and however they play on a day, whether it's a big match, whether it's a small match, whether it's a match of importance, somehow, somewhere, the fans, you know, that's where they look towards in order to get that extra bit of energy, extra bit of vuma, you know, to go a bit forward and to fight. Because that's essentially what Bafana Bafana is about. If we look in that steep history back in the early 90s into the early 2000s, obviously for the better part of after the 2000s, it's been a bit of a lull, but obviously, as Bruce mentioned in his post-match press conference once again, which he likes to remind his critics that what has happened before he arrived.
Stay humble.
And that's the thing, how important fans is and how fickle we are still with this national team. Do you think it is, obviously we know expectations are through the roof, certainly for what has happened. And do you think it's fair upon this team to have these high expectations, Njabulo?
Bafana supporters are the best and worst thing for this team. Because when they click and they show up, and we've seen throughout in South Africa and Bloem, Cape Town, Durban, when the fans show up, they really are just amazing, and people genuinely love this team. And even in moments when they're angry and they're lashing out, because it comes from a place of care and compassion, and I think and what Gus said is quite true, is that sometimes we're not realistic in terms of as Bafana fans, because this is a team that hasn't been in the World Cup in 16 years. Everyone in that team is making their World Cup debut. Almost 90% of the players in this tournament are homegrown in terms of that. They were developed in South Africa and are based in South Africa. And when you get to the world stage where players you're competing against teams whose players come from the highest level, there is obviously that massive gap, and especially for a team that hasn't been used to this stage. So this World Cup, in an ideal world, is a World Cup for Bafana to sort of test themselves against the world best, see where they are, what they need to improve on, and then build. I think the World Cup that we should be looking at is the next one, in terms of we have to qualify, we have to go there and be competitive, because even the conservative approach that Bruce adopted, it's also understandable in that, I mean, we've had issues with dealing with set pieces. We're playing against teams that are ranked much higher than us, and we haven't faced Asian opposition, we haven't faced European opposition leading up to this tournament. So this is a steep test for us, and we have to be mindful of that. And I think the problem at times as South Africans is that we view Bafana Bafana in two worlds, is that we either think we're world beaters or we are the worst thing ever. And both statements are not true. And Bafana are somewhere in between. And that's why even in terms of the performances, you do not see a consistent, dominant performance, because we are still a team that is a work in progress. I think we're miles ahead in terms of where we should be. We're not even among the best 5 teams on the continent. So we have to be mindful of the gap that we still have to cover before expectations are high.
The only thing that I could say that it's been consistent, especially over these past 2 matches, is Ronwen Williams and playing out from the back, and how we've struggled with that. I just want you to touch on that, and obviously from a fan or whether from a journalistic point of view, it was as annoying as anything else. Not because we shouldn't be doing it, but we're not perfecting it, in a sense of there's a bit of miscommunication when it comes to that. Unfortunately, in that same breath, I will say that Czechia did play a back 5 and they flooded their midfield, which was particularly difficult for us to do so. And they were very smart in not pressing Ronwen Williams immediately, unless he came out of his penalty box, which he didn't. But what was so frustrating to see is that we kept implementing this plan. And I understand why we want to do it, but there was no plan B, for lack of a better term, or plan C for how we could get out of a situation where we are in control of the ball.
I think with the Czechia game, like playing from the back was critical, because if we played it long, we were not winning the ball in the air. I mean, it's this huge guy. I mean, they're among the tallest teams in the tournament. So hoofing it forward was going to be disastrous, because we're not going to win the first ball, and unlikely also to even win the second ball, because of just the sheer difference in size, and that this was a game between one of the tallest teams in the tournament against one of the shortest teams in the tournament. So in terms of us getting an edge over them, we had to keep the ball as low as we can, move it around as fast as we can. And I know Ronwen, especially when you're watching him, he's frustrating, but he is the best quality that this team has, in terms of just how he's able to draw players in, and also when you're watching it, it's frustrating, and your heart looks like it's going to come out of your mouth, because there's so many moments where it's quite scary, but that's the way this team plays, and that's something that they have over everyone, in terms of that we've got very comfortable ball players at our defense. And yes, there have been some mistakes. And I think that's the thing with playing from the back like you do, is that it's high risk and also high reward, because when you do it so well with Mbogazi, Okon, Mudau, Modiba, who are all very confident and calm on the ball, you allow your opponents to sort of come in open space, and then you can use that to sort of launch the Apolis or Irele and all of these fast players. And I think for me the problem is not been playing out of the back. It's what we do with the ball when we do that. Because even with Mexico, when you're playing the host, you know that they're gonna come at you, they're gonna press you high, and because they want to score and put you on a back foot. So when you do that, you can't just hoof the ball because you're giving away possession, and then they're gonna come back at you. So you have to open up those space and really hit them on transition, which is how this team plays. And the problem in Bafana is not so much Williams; it's the outlets that when these defenders and when he draws players, is that we are not fast enough in terms of opening up space, and we do not utilize those quick transitions enough. And I think that is something that the team has to work on more, because the passing game is not going to change. I mean, it's something that the team, even against Korea, they're going to do that to try and open up space. And I think the fact that Rele got minutes and he was very good at finding pockets of space and creating those chances is something to look forward to in that regard. But I mean, with Rodman, I would just say just get your high blood pressure in check. Make sure you have those pills ready next to you, because it is scary, but it's something that the team is not going to change.
But the thing is, if I could just add on to that, obviously given this past season with Mamelodi Sundowns, we've seen him doing that much more frequently, whether to their benefit or to their detriment. It was more to their benefit than to their detriment, because he has made a few errors, and that's what comes with playing with the ball out from the back.
Yeah.
In that same breath, why it works much better at Sundowns than it currently at Bafana Bafana. Obviously, he's been with the club for so long, and the system is in place under Miguel Cardoso. But with Bafana Bafana, obviously, there's an array of different players from all over the country as well as the world that's coming together and trying to implement this sort of system or sort of pattern of football. When we speak about patterns and we speak about this kind of game, whether they're going to continue to do it, because they did it against Mexico at the same time, which is more than likely they're going to do it against South Korea, unless they play the long ball, because they're similar in height with the South Koreans. But in that same sense, because the patterns are not working, because players are from different, clubs and so forth, I want to ask this question, but I also don't really want to disrespect Eme Ocon and Aubrey Modiba, in a sense of, for Eme Ocon, he's only 21 years old and it's only really been in the setup for a couple of months, whereas Mbukazi is just a talisman, and he's that guy.
He's that
guy. He's exactly, he's not human. And we could see last night when he took that shot and the ball, he punched the ball. He punched the ball, which is crazy. But what I want to ask is, like, from a defensive point of view, I thought Eme Ocon, as well as Aubrey Modiba, but more on Ocon in the sense of, like, does this partnership work? Are they going to continue with this partnership? Is it a bit too much for the kid? Do we bring in a Sabisi? Do we bring in a Olweto? Do we bring in a Cabinho for the left side as well? As you mentioned before, Bruce has his favorites, and he kind of sticks to something, especially in defense.
I think with the left back, it's understandable why Modiba has not lit up the tournament. I mean, he did come with the knock. And also with the two games, we've really been pinned back in terms of our fullbacks. I mean, even Mudau has had quite a bad tournament in terms of with his high standards. So our defense has not been great as a unit. And when that happens, obviously there is someone who gets picked on more in terms of who's punished and whatnot. And I think Ime has faced the brunt of some of that criticism and how things have been. But I think he's definitely one for the future. And this combination is going to work. And I think that also Bruce is backing them. I mean, you've got like there's two youngsters really being the future of Bafana in terms of centre back pairing, whereas Oluetu is also knocking on the wings. And I think Ime has been a victim of circumstances around him in terms of Aubrey not being at his 100%, which and then makes Umbogazi to cover quite a fair bit in terms of that left back position. And when he does that, then it leaves Ime Ocon a bit vulnerable in terms of centre back. And that's why Bruce started with those three centre backs so that when one of the two drift wide, that there's at least two men in terms of centre back. So Ime, most of the things that he's done wrong and sort of been punished on has not really been through his own fault. It's been trying to cover for his other teammates. So that's been the challenge, is that going forward, do we go for a flat four in terms of getting defensive football? Mm-hmm. Because that's what Kabini is. Because Modiba and Mudau, I mean, we know their qualities, we know how good they are. But after this long season where theirs started in June, I mean, that's also something that we have to remember. Mm-hmm. They were in the US playing in the Club World Cup, didn't have much of a break, got straight into the league, played the maximum number of games in the Champions League, have been ever present at Bafana. So it's something that will take a toll, and then you come here, which is it's not only a higher quality, but it's also mentally tougher because you're now playing in the World Cup where the world is watching. And I think that's why we've not seen the best of Mudau and the best of Modiba. But in terms of what Ocon has brought into this team, he's very good. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the players who also allows Ronwen to play with confidence in terms of playing from the back. And I think the challenge is that when you make mistakes at this level, you get punished. And that's something that I think is a downside in terms of having a team that is largely made up of PSL players, because some of the mistakes that they are making at this level are mistakes that they do make at club level, but more often than not, they don't get punished. Even with Ronwen, he does even lose the ball here in terms of playing from the back, but teams aren't ruthless and efficient as what you get at the World Cup. And I think that is something that the team needs to work on going forward. And that also includes in terms of being very mindful of who you're playing against. The likes of Nicaraguas and the Lesothos are not going to help this team in the long run. They need to be consistently testing themselves against the world's best so that they bridge the gap that is there.
And when I think of the reason also why I brought that up from a defensive centre-back pairing point of view, Bafana Bafana, or South Africa at least, are looking very healthy in that space. We have Ndamani, we have Kabini can also play centre-back. Makanya, Kizana as well. So we also have Rushan Dortley, who's coming back, who Bruce really likes, but obviously this long-term injury. We've also seen,
there's also the guy in Kenya, Rushan Deruk. He's been doing quite well for Simba
as well. Another player that I was surprised that Bruce didn't really call him up again to have a closer look at him. But before we obviously end this discussion, there's a few things that I also just want to point out of that match last night. Before we get to Bogomokwena, I really want to save some time and space for Thapelo Maseko. I thought he played really well when he was on the ball last night. I felt like this was the first time in this Bafana Bafana shirt. He's obviously been there around in the periphery and so forth. And I've often questioned myself to say, why is this kid here? We know what he produced at SuperSport United. He really didn't get a chance at Mamelodi Sundowns. And now that he's in Cyprus, us as South Africans, we don't really get to see that or follow that league as often as other leagues as we do follow here in the country. But I thought he was really brilliant when he was on the ball. And he really had a go at Czechia's midfield and defense. And I felt like he probably stamped his name on that right wing role for the next game as well?
I think that the challenge with Thapelo is that he's a very confident-based player. If he does not feel loved and appreciated, he quickly drops his head. And when you look at Sundowns, I mean, we even forget when Rulani was there. Maseko was the player of the tournament in the AFL, where Sundowns were playing against some of the best teams on the continent. I mean, Esperance, Alali, and the team, and Pedro from Luanda. So he really showed how good he is in that tournament, scoring crucial goals and really stepping up from where he was at SuperSport. And I think Cardoso did not understand him in terms of how to use him and also how to manage him. And that's why it got to that point where he lashed out and said that he's fallen out of love with the game, like he does not know, because he's a very emotional player and he wears his heart on his sleeve. So if he does not feel appreciated and seen, that's what happened. And I think this is one of the good things that Bruce does like no other, in terms of just lifting up the players and giving them the confidence that they are the best there is in that position. And that's what is done very well for Thapelo. Even when you talk to him, I mean, we've had a couple of engagements with him. He is in the zone. He's very confident and eager to show his best. And I think also he's bulking up. I mean, he's slightly bigger than what he was when he left the country, because at Cyprus he's been put on a program to ensure that he's a bit stronger, because the Cyprus league is a bit more competitive physically. And that's why, not just in terms of what he was doing with the ball, but when he was like that up close with Chechen defenders, he could still, I mean, show a bit of elbow and that, because you can see that is something he can do. He's when everything clicks, Thapelo Maseko is sensational. And if we can have him and Oswin clicking, we really could do something against Korea. So it's good. I think it's good that he got those minutes, and he's the one who created the penalty that essentially gave us that point. So his confidence is high, and when Maseko's confidence is high, he's something else too. He's a pleasure to watch.
And the last word, let's give it to Tebogo Mokoena. How much are we going to miss this lad next week, Thursday?
Like, Tebogo is just something else. I mean, there's so much that he brings into the team that I think his performance on the field is the least of what makes him so important for this Bafana team. He's as a leader, he's something else. I don't know if you saw, but when Urele came onto the pitch, you could see that he, in his head, he was thinking about the occasion. He wasn't, like, he was a bit tense from when he was stretching to when even Kulumani and Sibisi was sort of giving him a nod because everyone was excited that he's finally getting his chance. So when he entered the field, he was a bit tense. And then Tebogo called him, and I thought it was going to be something tactical. But the moment he got close within an earshot of Tebogo, he just burst out laughing, because whatever Tebogo said, it's something that sort of eased the tension and allowed Rele to show his best. And that's why you've seen Rele be confident. I mean, it's small things like that just, his awareness is something else. In terms of the game, the pressure and everything that it needs, that I don't think, like, not just Bafana, but in football and in South African football at large, it's going to take something special to replace Tebogo because of just his sheer consistency. I mean, even now, when you look at the energy that he brings, the work that he brings, this is also someone who's not stopped playing football for the longest of time. He was in Ivory Coast in 2023, went to Morocco, and he plays 90 minutes for Bafana. He plays most of the minutes for Sundowns. He's been all over the continent. He's exceptional. And his best quality is his handling of high pressure moments. Because when Bafana got that penalty, there was no conversation, and they didn't even do that thing where one takes the ball to sort of ease the situation when things are tense and everyone is fighting, so that you do not overthink the penalty. The moment it was a penalty, Mokoena took the ball and he was like, I'm doing this. And this is someone who had picked up a yellow card, which meant that he's ruled out for the game against Korea. And to be that confident and having also even during the warm-up, like emotional as he was during the national anthems, it just shows the heart that Teboho Mokoena has. He's unbelievable. He's the heart and soul of this team. And replacing him is going to be, it's impossible. You can't replace Teboho. I think the one thing that makes me a bit more ease is that whoever is there is also going to want to do it for Teboho. And even in the team, in terms of him dragging us to make sure that when we go to Monterrey, we've got something to play for. The team is going to play for Teboho. And Teboho is one of the most loved figures in the team. And I think that just extra motivation to try and do it for Teboho might just be what we need to get past a very good South Korean side.
Yeah, next week we will unpack everything ahead of that highly anticipated clash between Bafana Bafana and South Korea next Thursday. Kickoff is.
I hope their goalkeeper gives us like he did with the Mexico goal. I mean that mistake he made was like, can you do that again on Wednesday? Like, we do not ask for much.
It seems like Group A is very beneficial of luck. We look at it, the penalty last night, that could have easily not have been given to us, but luck was on our side. If we look at Czechia's run into this World Cup alone, having beaten Ireland, having beaten Denmark on penalties in the playoffs. We look at that goal last night for Mexico as well. We look at the goals that we gave Mexico too.
We gave them.
So, it all depends on where Lady Luck will drop its diamond next Thursday. Will it be because this group is still so tense? Czechia can beat Mexico, and we could beat South Korea, and then South Korea would be eliminated because they'll be at the end of the group. So there's so much to talk about next week. Before I let you go, Njabulo, just let us know what you'll be up to in the next couple of days. I know you're trying to catch a flight soon back to Mexico.
Weather permitting, I'm supposed to be going back to Mexico. But last night there was a tornado warning in some parts of Atlanta. And what happened today because of the weather. It rained quite a bit last night, and there was a storm. There's like in some parts, like there's even like a big cleanup operation because of just how things have been. So, but it seems that things are going to get slightly better from today. So, weather allowing, I'm going back to Mexico, back where Bafana are based in Pachuca, and then we'll head to Monterrey sometime early next week, where Bafana are going to play their last game, which is almost like 1,000 km away from where Bafana are in where they're based in Pachuca. So there's going to be a lot of crisscrossing, and hopefully when we do get to Monterrey, we get there and we get the points that we need to go to the next round.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you get settled in to the airport and everything else, and we'll catch up next Wednesday ahead of Bafana Bafana's crucial final Group A game against South Korea. Njabulo, thank you very much, and everything of the best over there in North America. Hey? We'll chat soon.
Thanks for having me.